that's a good idea. But what I've picked up from Steve and from working with Colin and this group is that, of course, that very reliability, right at the very heart of what we regard as best science, immediately excludes minority voices. And if the system is predominantly white, that means it immediately excludes black voices. Yeah. So the very reliability, it's not so much that, so if white supremacy actually is embodied in the very theoretical basis on which we're trying to change things. Now, I hasten to add, the reason why I hang in with with this group and working with Colin despite my ignorance and continuing difficulty of understanding what it's all about is because I think what Colin's brought to this whole discussion is something really quite novel. It is about inside, outside, and it's captured for me in the phrase getting beyond the colour bar. And of course, it doesn't mean literally the colour bar. What it means is getting beyond a black-white standoff, Jewish, Aryan standoff, whatever those tribal standoffs are, and trying to find something that goes beyond that.
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind.
In the early years where I would have been the only black player in the team, particularly the early late 70s, early 80s, and even sort of going through that early part of the 80s, only one of probably 2 or 3 black players in the team. And of course, I think everybody's aware of what, as a black player that you went through in them years and for quite some years, is that you perhaps got used to that. You got used to that mask. You got used to making sure that obviously saying what you had to say at the right times, but in the majority of times making sure that people didn't see how much it hurt. What people saw was somebody that was wanted to prove a point, wanted to make sure they got the very best out of what they were doing, and I can relate that very much to showing that mask or having that mask as a manager and as a coach now, and on numerous occasions what we will have to do is say something that we don't particularly feel, but ultimately it's about getting the best out of the role that you're in and the best out of the job that you're doing.
They took our mind to keep our bodies, and we're still doing it today. It's not changed. They're still using our bodies for their benefit, and the ex-slave owners are now the football club owners who are buying our children for 20,000, 30,000 in between themselves, between Europe, and I get the brunt of that when the child doesn't succeed within the game.
We are a board that is predominantly of a white background. That said, we do have a diversity spectrum in terms of a female board member, a non-independent executive is from a Asian background. We have Paul Elliott, who's part of the board makeup, who's, I would say, black, British, Jamaican background. So we're probably more gender diverse than we are racially diverse.
We need to find ways of raising our own money from within our community. There is enough leadership that is not being given a chance. People like you. I don't know you. How come I don't know you?
Can I say this quickly?
Yes, sir.
Our race across the planet are the biggest spenders of wealth. This is the generation. I'm investing in these. I'm not investing in me anymore. My investment, I've seen 25 years of fighting with these for what? Nothing. You're getting nothing. And I mean, literally, our children have gone from 1990. Okay, I was born in 1961. I didn't want you to know that, but you need to. I was born in 1961, okay? From 1961 to 1990, I never went to a funeral other than my uncle who fell down the stairs and was drunk, hit his head and died. Okay, blood. From 1990 to today, I have no number. I cannot come up with a definitive number and tell you. Now that's systematic. That's social engineering. Okay, and until we are aware of this and understand this, how are we going to change anything? I think we have to start here first, with you, him, and you, to ensure that there's a change in our perspective. Then everything else is possible. Until that time, nothing is possible because you're still asking other people who have no emotional empathy with you about your circumstances, and because genocide is happening in England today with black young men, and nobody. And that's not even that's beyond mental health. That's called suicide. You're killing yourself. Now, I can't see how you can get to that position from where I am coming from.
Racism here is worse because it's not as over as it is in America, and it's more corrosive, I feel. It's more detrimental to us as a people, and our identity and how we see ourselves. At least in America, you know what it is. Like,
clearly segregated.
yeah, they're gonna tell you. Here, you don't know who.
Covert.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know who your enemy is. You know.
It's all a system, you get me? Like, if I'm going to a therapist, it's the same as going to probation. Like, man's sitting here and you're sitting there. It's still that's you and that's me. It's not a together thing. We're trying to solve the problem together rather than I'm just doing what you tell me to do. It's deep because what we're asking white people to do is to empathise with our situation, which is a lot. Like, there's a lot for a young black person in London just to move. Like, the same thing that my mum was saying about my brother, he's got OCD, so he's thinking like people are trying to kill him. He's carrying stuff, and that's on the street. So for a normal black young guy, yeah, it's hard. But if we put into a community where I can go to my barber shop, I can chat to him. He's got training, he knows what to do. Or the yard shop or something where I feel more comfortable to chat rather than just a one-on-one with someone that don't look like me, don't chat like me, don't do anything the same.
So the underlying theme of our group was really redistribution of power. So it's about powerful organisations doing more to work to reduce inequalities, and underpowered organisations being supported to support the community, essentially.
When you start talking about these things and say it's okay to talk about these things, everybody wants to start talking about them. So it kind of needs somebody to kind of broach these subjects, because we all think about these things, but we don't actually create the space to talk about them. So thank you for that, Colin, and thank you for the invitation for me to come.
It's, getting people's experiences, knowing what the impact of the system is on individuals, on communities, and therefore for those communities and individuals to be able to say what could have been done better, what would have made their experiences better. And that also applies to mental health in football as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds. I've been inspired today, and thank you for allowing me to talk.
Thank you.